Hello everyone, this is Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let me make sure I am up. I've checked my volume and it is maxed out. Yeah, so more information came out about the Jordan case. And it's funny, I realize doing all news, doesn't matter what the news is ultimately some network, some person, something somewhere looking at the world and zeroing in on one very specific thing. And then they zero in on it, they give an information for that specific part of the world, that specific aspect of reality. In this very specific case, this is our sandbox to some degree. So when something like this comes out, this is Jordan Chariton had perved somebody, then yeah, it becomes one of those things of holy shit. And what are the details? I think for us, this is somewhat important to us. At least I think it is. I mean, TYT, regardless of what you want to think of it, started a progressive network. You know, you may say they've been corrupted along the way. You may say they've lied along the way. You may say all sorts of things. They supported Hillary Clinton. I would go with that one. That's a fail for me. But just like the argument about Sanders, like, you can't necessarily pretend as if they didn't necessarily do their thing just because you don't necessarily like what they became. Jordan Chariton was essentially a spawn of TYT in this case, meaning he was a reporter. And of all the people he was, you know, Standing Rock, Flint, Michigan, etc., etc. So, you know, in one of these few rare cases, at the very least, the first guy who they got went to places and focused on things that we ourselves liked and we ourselves thought was interesting, even though the larger media was completely ignoring. That's the first point. The second point is, when you're dealing with sexual assault allegations, it's icky all around. Like, it's icky all around. It's uncomfortable. It's slightly gross. But I gotta be honest, it's a conversation that should need to be had. And this is going to talk about more details in the case with Jordan, but I kind of want to expand that to a larger conversation about sexual assault and sexual harassment and those type of things. Bear with me, because it's like anywhere you fall on this, people, sometimes philosophy intersects with politics in an odd way, and people don't particularly like. And I'm going to make my case, and my case is going to be made just from this kind of, this is what I think, what's your perspective? And we can have a longer conversation, open conversation about it. And feel free to have the space to say what you think you need to say. You're not going to offend me. Part of me may die on the inside, but you won't offend me. All right, so the first point. Yeah, and just to bring everybody up to speed. George Chariton was accused of sexual assault on Huffington Post. Essentially, somebody wrote an article, and that article went after him, you know, completely, saying that he raped somebody and that there were other people coming out with those allegations, or other people also had allegations that they were going to come out with, but they were too afraid to do so. Now, this is a really big fucking deal if you're going to just, in a splashy way, accuse somebody of sexual assault and rape. That's pretty intense. Then the story comes out explaining what took place in the story itself, and it sounds like there was alcohol. One person was married. There was some kind of relationship or some kind of interaction going on between these two things. Like, that's the bare bones of the details. Jordan said, I didn't do it. Jordan said it was consensual. She was married. She was upset. But just because this person lied about this, don't necessarily mean that the other women are lying about it also. Meaning all the other sexual assault allegations. Because, let's be honest, the overwhelming majority of people who come up with sexual assault are not lying. They're not lying. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's a fraction that aren't. Just law of averages. You will get a certain percentage that is not telling the truth. But the right-wing argument that, well, come on, everybody can't be telling the truth, but that doesn't necessarily mean the overwhelming majority are. But their point is fair. You have to give a certain amount of credibility to the person being accused just because you don't necessarily know if it's true. So you're stuck dancing on the head of a pin. Well, I should say dancing on a wire. I can't necessarily discount what the person is saying. By the same token, I can't necessarily assume that what the person is saying is true. So where do you go? Where does a human go? What's the workable perspective that allows you to balance those two ends fairly and honestly? I don't know. usually you end up erring on the side that you think is more credible, if that makes sense, based upon the information that you're presented with. And by the way, that's not even true, per se. As human beings, we have this kind of bias, one way or the other. So oftentimes, most people will jump on one side of the bandwagon or the other. This person is innocent, this person is guilty, and now you have two sides that are colliding. Neither side knowing the actual truth of the matter, but both sides being pretty strong in their feelings about one person being guilty and one person being innocent. This is nowhere to be. This is absolutely nowhere to be. In Jordan's case, more information came out that is, for the most part, putting the story into question. But there's a larger reality to Jordan's case that's fucking fascinating to me that needs to be discussed. So, someone posted this on my page. The person who the Huffington Post article talked about that wanted to come out, she came out herself. She came out herself. Now, two things took place. One of the people in this story had a conversation, and I believe the conversation was with Jordan, and they were having a text back and forth. And the person admitted, I lied because I was upset. I was upset. I was angry. I was upset. And they came out with these allegations. I never said that it was rape, but they took the story and they ran with it. So that came out. I posted in my other video last night. Now this came out today. Gracie Ann Parks. In an article published on Huffington Post on November 16th, Kristen Chiakakis, murdering that name, wrote that there was a female accuser who wanted to come forward but wouldn't for fear of Chariton having photos of her. He was referring to me. I said that in a group chat that Christian and others were plotting to take Jordan down. I knew the allegations weren't true, and I wanted to help him, so I played along. I was not worried about anything with Jordan. I was actually informing Jordan at the time of what they were plotting. During my time at working with Truth Against the Machine, I became upset at Jordan, occasionally, but it never involved sexual harassment or assault. In fact, I never met Jordan until 3 days ago. The author's claims are false and needs to issue a correction immediately. This is all I will say about this. Those who continue to harass me about this will be contacted by my lawyer. Now, here's the catch. Just like with the sexual assault, is what she's saying true? I mean, to some degree, you have to give her agency, so you have to take her word for it. But I would imagine the people who are claiming the sexual assault thing would say, well, look, she's saying that because she's scared of something, that she's being influenced by something. Either, hey, maybe those pictures exist, or maybe those pictures don't exist and they are putting pressure on her in some other way. That's what they would say. Now, somebody else will look at this and say, well, look, this is her testimony. She's telling you what took place. She's telling you what happened. Like I said, man, I got to be honest. I err on the side of Jordan on this one. It has nothing to do with him being a guy. It has everything to do with this thing of, well, one bit of information is coming out after the next, challenging the narrative. So, like any other human being, you err on a particular side based on the information. That changes when the information changes. In this case, the person who the Huffington Post article claimed is coming out saying that Huffington Post article is lying through its teeth. The person, yeah, she's saying the Huffington Post article lied through its teeth. Now, somebody else that worked with Truth Against the Machine, this time a guy, has come out with his own testimony. Now, I want you to listen to what he's saying, because what he's saying is important. There's another article that I wrote that I said was just a straight hit piece, because it was just a straight hit piece. She went after him on everything. But the key point, and the key thing that's missing in all this, let me see what, if you're accusing him of rape, you're accusing him of sexual assault. Fair enough. One person after the next will come out and say, okay, this story is in question. So that's also fair. Let's listen to this guy, and I tell you what I mean. I want to get to it before you're hearing him.
So I guess the question is, did Jordan Chariton sexually assault former employees of Truth Against the Machine. I wanted to weigh in on this because I was a former reporter at Truth Against the Machine. I worked my way up to become chief editor of their video. I was on like their administrative board or whatever you want to call it. And I had some personal interactions with Jordan. I went down to New York for 2 weeks to meet Jordan and work with the team. So I thought I could weigh in on this because a lot of these accusations are parts of the reason why I left Tatum. Basically, the accusations are that he would lure reporters into situations where he could get them inebriated or drunk, and then kind of...
Just so we're clear, the allegations are that he raped somebody. Just so we're clear. I mean, the Huffington Post article that they took down within a few hours after putting it up made a claim that Jordan raped somebody and that there would be other people who were going to come up to back the story up, meaning other people who also have testimonies. Now, up to this point, it's only been one, and only, I don't mean only to be diminutive. I just mean that the article made a particular claim about reality, meaning there are multiple cases. He only gave one case. If there are others, fair enough. But I'm just saying, from a flat fact standpoint, the article hasn't necessarily bolstered what it was saying. And the article made a claim of rape, not just... Again, I don't want to use just. This is the fault of the language at this point. I'm just saying that the claim was rape. The claim was rape. It's a big fucking deal. Let's keep going.
Do what he wanted with them. Having met Jordan, having heard how Jordan speaks about women, I do believe these accusations are true. So I'm going to give some grounds for that. So while I was working for Tatum, I went down to New York, hung out with Jordan, and instantly it was just talking about how we needed to go find women to hook up with. He only ever talked about the women he was texting that he could sleep with. While I was down there, I learned that he was sleeping with multiple people within the company, or I guess he was sleeping with one person in the company. He was trying to bring another one in that he was sleeping with. And he bragged about how these people were fans of his, which is the reason that I left the music industry in the first place. These douchebags that think that their position kind of puts them in a place where they can kind of get whatever they want. And I think it's something psychologically, like in their head, where they don't think of it as sexual assault because of the position that they're in. They think they are so desirable as a person that no matter what they do, the person that's in the situation is going to want them anyways, so they can pretty much do whatever they want. And I really got that vibe from Jordan. A lot of the times we would hang out around women, he would treat them as objects. There was a time when I was sitting in his apartment. We were sitting with another girl, and he just asked her to start cleaning his apartment, which just fucking set off so many red flags to me. And I was pretty much there to help him out, and I would have had no problems cleaning his house. Conversations with people about how he would constantly try to hook up with them in any situation that he possibly could. I heard about these accusations when I left Tatum that Jordan had sexually assaulted Carly, and I wasn't surprised, and I'm kind of ashamed of myself for not speaking up about it and trying to do something about it when I heard about it, or when I realized what kind of person Jordan was when I was down there, because there is no question in my mind the way he talks about women, the way he treats all people. I was, I guess, a coward, I guess. There was a lot of me that didn't want to accuse Jordan of these things when I was leaving Tatum. I didn't want to address these things when I was leaving Tatum because of the power that he holds in the industry. He's one of the biggest progressive reporters out there. I didn't want the attention of all of his supporters kind of backing him up if it did come to that, if I made any accusations, and he did do that. And I know that other people that left Tatum, he would threaten them with lawsuits. He approached me after I left. I did a video that didn't describe any of this. I made it very, very milquetoast, I guess. I didn't name any names. He was very forcefully tried to tell me to take it down. And that's just the kind of guy that Jordan is. He sees his power, and he uses his power to control situations. He uses the same words Carly talked about in the article, about how he always promised her that she was super talented and he would make her a big star. And that's the kind of language that Jordan would use to get what he needed out of people at the time. So if those things were sex, I have no doubt in my mind that he would use those. And for me, it was work. He just needed me to do work. So he would use the same language with me. If you know Jordan and you don't think that he did it, you really need to take a step back and assess the way you are looking at Jordan. All right. Peace, friends.
All right, so that's his testimony. I worked at Tatum, and Jordan is a douchebag. All right, the one thing that's missing in that dialogue, and the one thing that was missing in the other article, that I would call a hit piece because it just sounded like a hit piece, was knowing anything. Like, it's the guy's a douchebag, the guy is somewhat of a pervert, but rape is different. Let's be honest, rape is different. There's a different standard of I raped somebody as opposed to I was a douche. He may have a high libido. He may talk about sex a lot. He may be uncomfortable in the way that he talks about sex. But nothing in this said that he actually raped somebody. Nothing in that. None of this conversation had anything to do with rape. That has everything to do with he was a douchebag. I just want to make that bright red line. He's like, anybody who doesn't know, you know, Jordan's a douchebag, ergo I believe the charges that are against him. Those things are different. I'm sorry. It's you can be a douche and still have a red line in regards to raping somebody. It doesn't mean he's guilty. It doesn't mean he's innocent. By the same token, it doesn't mean she's telling the truth. It doesn't mean she's lying. This is somebody giving their testimony about not liking the person because of how the person was. That person didn't comport themselves in a way that he thought he should comport themselves, particularly in the sense of sexuality. Fair enough. That in no way says guilt. That in no way says guilt. That's the first thing I just want to make. It's like the arguments that are being used, they're not indicative of guilt. They're indicative of this person being a douchebag from the standpoint of sexuality. It also doesn't necessarily mean that the person couldn't be a pervert and care about other stuff. So I just want to draw a line on this. All right, that's the first point. The second point, being somewhat. Somebody said, I use this case of men will be men. I don't use a case for that reason. I use that language. Frank Sinatra has this line, day after day there are girls at the office, and men will always be men. He's making this point of, look, guys have a certain way about them. Look, guys have a way about them because society tells those guys to behave a particular way. That's all it is. The traits, the things that we consider to be culture, those things are invested into men. They're pushed into guys. When a woman walks out, they may be, as a child, they may be, oh my God, you know, protect that woman. If that was a guy, they would say, the dad may say one thing, but ultimately dad is thinking, that's my boy. Society has a way of looking at guys. And society has a way of pushing those guys to a particular behavior. Now, this is not an excuse for guys. Don't misunderstand me. But I look at the stuff, whether we're talking about poverty, whether we're talking about the way the rich behaves, whether we're talking about people in general, the way the poor behaves, in a sense. These people are pushed into certain things. People are being invested with certain qualities and traits, and they're told that those particular traits are good. There's a pressure into it. Jordan may have a high libido. Jordan may take advantage of his position, and I gotta be honest, I can believe all of that. I can totally believe it. I can. That doesn't necessarily blow me away in a sense of, oh my God, I can't believe Jordan was being sexist. I can't believe he was talking about sex that much. No, I think Jordan, in this sense, is a guy. And I think guys, when they're talking to themselves, they talk a particular way. Not all guys, but some guys can be. I grew up in a barbershop. Like, so put this in perspective. There is nothing wrong with guys talking in the way that guys talk. The catch becomes, are you putting that on somebody else? And that's where the problem comes in. So if Jordan was talking to one of his buddies and they were one-on-one, then that's just between them. They talk about whatever they want to talk about. They have free will. Have fun. Do your thing. Have your conversations. If you're working and you're at, Tatum or whatever this thing is called, Truth Against the Machine, that's a job. Like, for you to invite women or men or all of this stuff, and you're having these vulgar and over-the-top conversations about who you want to sleep with and all this other stuff, that just seems so beyond the pale. I can think of no job that I've worked at where the guys talked in that particular way. I've been at jobs where it was more formal or more informal, and it was like one-on-one. But that's different. That is an informal arrangement where this particular guy talks a particular way that he would in no way talk about if he was in mixed company. It's a little problematic that Jordan is working at a company talking in this way. That's all. And yes, I do believe that part. That part I do believe. That part I do believe. But that doesn't make him a rapist. That in no way makes him a rapist. This is kind of my point. I'm drawing a distinction and a line between those things. There's a very stark difference between rape and this guy being somewhat vulgar and somewhat of a pig. And let's move on to a third point. So yes, I've condemned this thing of him being in the job space and him using this language and acting this way. I think if you're in a job, it's more of a formal arrangement. You're going to have people, all sorts of people who you're interacting with. Those people aren't there because they think you're buddy-buddy. Those people are there because they're there for employment. If you're using your stature as being the owner of that particular company, you're talking a particular way, that is a problem. That is an immense problem. I can't understand why he doesn't see that. That's a problem. That's a problem. Now, him talking down to women and all this other stuff, that's a little different. He may mansplain and all this other stuff. And the rhetoric that the guy's using in this video, he doesn't know at all. He's investing certain things in a Jordan that may or may not necessarily exist. From my outside perspective, this is what I think he's thinking. It is easy to start going with this idea if you just dislike Jordan. Oh, this guy said he was thinking this, so Jordan was thinking this. I don't think that at all. I don't think that at all. I have no idea what Jordan thinks. I think that avenues and aspects of your society creates inequities within regards to how people are interacting with one another. I think that people who have a certain position amongst them, have a certain position, tries to advantage themselves with that position. I think that's if you're talking about a corporation. I think that's if you're talking about some kind of informal group, meaning some kind of club or government or whatever else. I also think that's businesses, meaning at Truth Against the Machine, if Jordan himself was in a place that he thought highly of himself, that he may use that position to advantage himself in multiple ways. In this case, maybe with I'm trying to leverage my position to get sex from this particular person. Do I believe that that could be the case? Yeah, that could be the case. Of course that could be the case. Of course that could be the case. Is that sexual assault? No. Is that douchebaggery? Yes. Is it sexual harassment? Maybe. Maybe. Yes. But is it rape? No. That is not rape. If this exact claim came up and they said they were being sexual harassed, okay, that's different. That's different. Sexual harassment to some degree is somewhat perspective. It's not, it's not the word of God per se. Some people feel a particular way. They feel a particular way at different levels. Somebody else may be perfectly okay with the behavior. Somebody else may be like, oh my God, this guy is talking about sex in this way and I feel pressured. The story, look, personally, I just think the story is more nuanced. I think Huffington Post starting off with the rape thing just takes it to such an extreme level. And then for them to have to back away from the story. And then from you're adding more context in regards to alcohol and everything else. Then you're adding more context of somebody being pissed off. Somebody wanted to strike back. And then you add a little bit more context of, was there any truth to inform this particular perspective? Meaning, this come out of a void. I don't think this came out of a void. I don't think it came out of a void. So, I'm going to turn this over to the audience. Look, part of the reason I can believe him being this way, because his personality comes across as being somewhat that way. Just in the interactions that you saw on video. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean he raped somebody. That's all. I've seen people fall on both sides of this. And it's like, how are you falling on either side of this based on the information that's provided? The best thing you can do is be ambiguous. That being said, the more information comes out, the more it looks like a middle ground. The more it looks like the truth of this is somewhere in the middle. Somebody was pissed off, yes. there was not rape. I don't believe there was rape at this point. I mean, just looking at the information that came out, I could be wrong. More people could come up, and again, at that point, my perspective would change. But what it seems like is there was a party, people were having fun, somebody got uncomfortable in the midst of that process. Apparently, they stopped and went down and had more conversation. What do you say? Intimate, non-sexual affection, or whatever that was called. But it sounded like something went on in that space. It doesn't sound like it was rape. It sounds like somebody was pissed off about being fired, or somebody had some kind of feelings against Jordan. And T.Y.T. Potter's The Truth Against the Machine. That being said, it also sounds like Jordan was being somewhat of a pig. It totally sounds that way. It sounds like he was being over the top in his dealings with women. More so, not even his dealings with women, more so in how he would use his position, how he would use his position in sex itself. Yeah, I'll go with that. Something to that effect. It seems to be a lot of fuckery involved in what's going on with this. It seems that there are hurt feelings and people are pissed off. But it also seems like there was something underlying that, to the very least, allowed this to be present as a stone to throw in the first place. You're being somewhat of a pig. You're being somewhat of a pig in a job space. You're being somewhat of a pig in a job space that people were looking to you for jobs and employment. And you were using your stature to take some level of advantage in the space. That's what it seems like. That's what it seems like. Just be clear, though, that is not rape. That is not rape. So, we have 58 people here, all right? So let's hear some of the responses. My response won't fit. Damn, 800 something, Blay, I'm missing this, Deminje. All right, let's keep going. Let's go to the top. I had a classmate who tried to attend monastic studies. His girlfriend went First Testament and made a false sex assault report. She admitted she lied, but church rejected the applicant wholesale. Visionary leader, I might be next. God damn, don't even look at that girl anymore. He's kind of making a point. Like, if it gets to the point where you need to formally say, hey, I would like your consent to hit on you, then we've gone far too far. We've gone way too far. People are going to have interactions. No, you can't put your hands on somebody, but come on. Hitting on somebody is not sexual assault. The problem with this case is he's in a job space. I mean, honestly, that's the problem. If Jordan is with his buddies and he's talking about women, I don't give a shit if Jordan is having a... I don't care if Jordan is a randy guy. I don't care if Jordan is a sexual maniac. I don't care if Jordan has 30 girls in his Rolodex that he wants to call for orgies on the weekend. Have at it. Have fun. You're a lucky guy if that's the case. But if I'm at work, and I'm there because I'm looking for a job, I'm there because I think this guy is going to help me in my career, I don't necessarily want to hear you having, an orgy, or you're macking somebody. That just seems beyond the pale in regards to their job space. It just does. So somebody was like, yeah, dude, you're saying men would always be men. Yes, men are men. Don't raise them to be this way if you don't want them to act a particular way. Don't have your society structured in a way where you have this level of inequity where somebody can use their stature to influence people in other ways. Yeah, that's your society. Doesn't give them a free pass, but come on, that is your society. In movies, think of movies for the moment. The guy is trying to get the girl. She tells him, you're an asshole, you're horrible, you're miserable, and he continues to try. And the high point of the movie is he finally gets the girl. He does everything in his power. He completely ignores her no. And at the end, he finally gets the girl. Oh, it's a happy story. No, reality doesn't work that way. Life doesn't work that way. But if you have inequities, if one person is at a higher stature than somebody else, is there going to be a percentage of people who use a higher stature to get their way? Whether that's a plutocrat and a politician, whether that's a boss at a job, well, whatever that is. Our society is competitive. And unfortunately, we use people within that competition also. It may be very well true that he will use his stature in order to try to elicit sex. That may be true. That is not rape. Like, whatever you think of Jordan on this case, whatever you think of, I mean, rape is just a different allegation. It's just a different allegation. It's, like I said, if this was just him amongst his friends, then I could care less. I could care less. But yeah, if you're having, yeah, it gets a little weird when you have other people coming into it. And mind you, this is me just kind of assuming that the vulgarity stuff is true. That's true. To some degree, that's me assuming such. But again, if something comes out that shows that's not the case, then fair enough. But I gotta be honest, among this entire story, the one part that sounds like that's believable, that's possible, is being somewhat of a pig. So, but I don't know that to be a flat fact. Robert Puke-Ray. Jordan was a horny dude in the beginning of the reporting, saying, anyone knows some ladies? I'm single. But he seemed respectful. He didn't force anyone while in a dry spell. Robert Puke-Ray. Well, yeah, he's not going to come across as a sexual pervert on screen. No, of course not. Of course not. Visionary leader. And if you're going to stay in America, don't look at women, look down at your feet when you speak to a woman. Definitely don't have sexual relations with any woman because it can be used against you. Yeah, I got to be honest. At a certain point, it goes too far. If somebody put their hands on you, yes. If somebody did something where they're using their position to elicit sex, then yes, all of those things are immensely problematic. If somebody just hits on you, no. Being hit on is not the same thing. Sorry, it's not the same thing. Understand people have different levels that they're willing to deal with. Like like there's certain things that would offend them faster than somebody else. That's somewhat subjective. But come on. Do I really need a formal contract if I'm going to hit on somebody? And that's where it looks like this is going. Contacted my lawyer. Well, damn. Them's fighting words. Contacted by my lawyer. Yeah, those are fighting words. The funny part is he says, I would have cleaned Jordan's house. That's fucking hilarious. Why would you have cleaned Jordan's house? I don't understand that. I didn't know why he said it. He's trying to say Jordan asked her just because she was a woman. He doesn't know that. The second part is the lawsuit. If you're saying something about me that's untrue, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Of course you're going to have a lawsuit. Like, you can't use the fact that somebody's saying they're going to sue you if you continue with a story as some kind of evidence that the person is guilty. Like, oh, yeah. What do you expect the person to do? It's like, how dare he gets a lawyer for stuff that he thinks is untrue? How dare he do that? He's not. He's threatening you, dude, because you're saying something that he believes is untrue. Is it possible that he's threatening you purely for the sake of threatening you? Yes. But that's not evidence that he's guilty or an asshole or anything else. It's evidence that I don't believe what this person is saying. I don't want what this person is saying to come to light. And if this person keeps saying it, I'm going to take this person to court. Yeah, the lawyer thing's funny to me. Look me in the camera and say that, bro. Captain Obvious. Yeah, dude might not have doubts that Jordan is guilty, but neither does he have evidence. Yeah, agreed. Agreed. This guy isn't entirely wrong. Male lawyers make the same assumptions. It's not assault because they are what? Successful. It starts in law school and gets worse as people advance in their careers. But evidence is evidence, and feeling and assumptions aren't. Coriolis. Yes, I agree. Like I said, I can understand that there may be an underlying story to this. Like, don't get me wrong. This guy is over the top and gross. All right, fair enough. He's over the top and gross. And then it's, this guy raped me. So the guy that had some level of being over the top and gross with sexuality, now the allegation comes out about rape, and now the other people are like, I can believe it. I can believe it. He talked about sex all the time. I can believe it. Come on, man. Just be honest. Those are different things. Robert Puke-Ray. I know Jordan is a hornball. That's true. But I don't know the line because they had a hot tub orgy. Right. Just previously. Jordan should have gone on the couch or stayed on his side of the bed. Robert Puke-Ray. Why? Why should he have stayed on the side of the bed? All this stuff is looking back in hindsight. Hindsight is 20/20. You're having some level of an orgy. Like, come on. You're having an orgy. Good job. Good job. You're having fun. You're an adult. You're a human being. Human beings should be able to have fun and pleasure. Good job. There's no God above. It's not wrong. Now, if it's a situation where she said stop, no, and don't, then yes, Jordan should have stopped and not necessarily proceeded. But in the story, it sounds like at the point where it got to the, where, you know, it was like, okay, I'm not involved in it, so I'm not interested. It sounded like they stopped. And had non-sexual affection for several hours. Whatever the hell that means. I'm just saying, the incident itself, if you don't know, like, you wake up, some people are getting it on. You're like, hey, I see some people getting it on. I want to get part of this getting it on. You've done nothing wrong up to this point. If she says stop and you continue to get it on, then yeah, you fucked up. You've gone too far. You've gone too far. But I just kind of want to make the point. The act itself, having the orgy itself, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Adults having fun. But yeah, it clearly got a little weird when the married woman balked and said, oh my God, I was sexually assaulted by Jordan. I was raped. What's lacking here is evidence. What's lacking here is evidence. And you have a lot of people coming out saying, this is not true. This person was lying. This person was angry. And even the other person that the Huffington Post article said was going to come out, came out saying the Huffington Post article was a lie. So, I mean, yeah. All I heard was Jordan hits on a lot of girls and manipulative, therefore he believes he's guilty. Exactly. Exactly. That's what I heard too. That's what I heard. I bet Jordan have some infatuated fans who want him. Heck, I would clean Emma's room for sure, but clean my room? He says, I would clean Emma's room for sure. I love that. That sounds so dirty. I would clean her room big time. Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. It sounds like he's a hornball, yeah. It sounds like he's a hornball. He sounds like some guys that I know. But would those guys take it to the next level of rape? Like, being a hornball is a little bit different than being a rapist. That's all I'm saying. And everything that I've heard up to this point trying to condemn him is boils down to he's a douche. He talks about sex far more than any human being should. He's somewhat of a pervert. He macks on women. He uses his career or his position to try to elicit sex. Now, you can say that's sexual harassment. We can have a conversation about that. But none of this is evidence of rape. None of this is evidence of anything in this case. At least not rape. I have a lot of friends who would never shut the fuck up about women and how much they want to bone. Yes, agreed. Captain Obvious, agreed. Bob Ramirez, you can wring your hands over this and make excuses all day. All that matters is whether there is prosecution and the outcome. Bob Ramirez, you are right. There is an investigation that's going on right now into it. Now, that being said, all the evidence that's been released has been on the side of Jordan. And the only thing that's been put out on the other side was the guy's a horn dog. And the guy is somewhat of a douche in the way he uses his career. But that's all that's been out. Like, if you're going to attack somebody in this way, oh man, it's just sounding gross. That's all. I feel grimy backing up and accused sexual assault. Yeah, me too, agreed. My ex said she was assaulted in college, but after we broke up, she said the dude after me assaulted her too. My mom warned me about her. Robert Pouque Ray. Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Independent outsider. Since when is evidence needed to ruin a public figure? Just saying. Agreed, independent outsider. I'm just saying it's... Yeah, man. I'm just saying that's a rough one. Violent teacher. Non-sexual intimate affection. Yeah, no. It just sounds funny. When the piece that Jordan wrote responding to the claims, it was so stilted in the way that it was written. It just sounded funny. I asked her if they could... She was like, they were having an orgy. And I woke up and I asked if it was okay if I joined into this orgy. And it's like, come on, nobody does that. I'm sorry, that's not a human reaction. You're a horn dog. You're a horn dog. You wake up and you see people getting it on. And you're like, oh, I see people getting it on. And being a human being, your body responds to people getting it on. That's what happens. Nobody in their right mind looks up and says, I see you two are having intimate interactions with one another. Do you consent to my coming forward? Nobody does that. Nobody does that. you try to inject yourself into the group getting it on. That's what I suspect took place. Now, I suspect the consent was, did somebody stop me from joining the getting it on? Or did they allow me to join in the process of getting it on? Was I accepted into the orgy or not? Now, at the point where they reject you from the orgy, if somebody doesn't necessarily want to participate, yeah, that's a different matter. That's a different matter. The way he wrote it was just comically stilted. But I know he was trying to defend his honor in this case. Somebody accused him of rape. Yeah, the problem is there may be an underlying thing of you act poorly around women. Maybe an underlying thing to it. Enough dichotomy crap. I don't understand, what does any of this have to do with Star Trek or UFOs? That's funny. Independent outsider, hornballer. Oh, hornballs. Yeah, hornballs. I didn't say that. That was somebody else in this chat. This was hornballs. I'm with you, Jamal. I said yesterday these facts seems murky. Agreed. And we should wait until more comes out. Agreed. While things seem a little clear, best to remain ambiguous until the investigation is complete. Winkle, the Bernie bro, I could not agree with you more. Agreed. Say Lou. This was mixed with workplace. Don't shit where you work is a good rule. Also, he is their founder. Say Lou, agreed. Agreed. Love my audience. Agreed. I couldn't agree with you more. If I was at work, so when I used to work as a barista, my manager, she was a complete fucking asshole. Complete asshole. The worst woman on the planet. If she would have sexually assaulted me, okay, that's slightly different. Even if she was the worst woman on the planet, it would, in my head, it's kind of sexy. Let's not say it's somewhat sexy. Let's say it's a situation of somebody, you have a female boss. You have no attraction to that female boss at all. Let's say that woman is in her 80s with a hunchback and a wooden leg. Whatever, I don't know. And she's hitting on you. And your job, for the most part, depends on her. You can see there's a problem here, right? I mean, there's a certain amount of pressure that's being applied to the individual, whether they want to or not, even if that person who's applying that pressure thinks it's perfectly okay. That's your workspace. That's your job. If she's talking about dicks, and she's talking about wanting to blow a guy, and you're like, you work there. You don't want to hear that shit at your job. I mean, so come on. The people who are complaining here have a point. If he's doing this at his job, that is problematic. I'm sorry. That is problematic. That's not rape in any way. No, it's not. But the founder of the company, the person who owns the company, is being somewhat sexually explicit. Yeah, I think there's a problem. If you're trying to get a job, you're working at this particular person. You're not there for shits and giggles. You're there because you're doing a job. Now, if the people in the job decide to have an orgy, that's different. That's all I'm saying. If they decide they wanted to hook up, that's different. Have fun. Do your thing. Do your thing. But it is a little problematic for the owner of a company to put pressure on the people in that company. And maybe if you're in a workspace, you may just have to say, I will sit this one out. That's all. It's not that... Look, you guys know, I think all drugs should be legal. And I think human sexuality should be unleashed. People should be able to have fun. They're adults. You're human beings. Your life is not meant to be any particular way. Your life can be whatever you want it. I would think pleasure would be one of those high points. The catch is consent. The catch is consent. Consent is a big fucking deal. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to be this kind of formal thing of consent. That does, however, mean if you have the ability to put pressure on a person, that's a problem. Maybe you should set that one out. Maybe you should set that one out. Have fun talking about sex to your friends. Have fun talking about the barista. Have fun talking about this person that you want to hook up with. Do your thing. You create your reality, whatever you want. But if somebody is stuck with you, that's a little different. If you have the ability to make sure they get a job or don't get a job, that's a little different. It just becomes problematic. It totally becomes problematic. Sounds like the girl who was feeling guilty after had to create a story her husband could accept. Maybe. Yeah, Valiant teacher. Maybe. Jeremy Walker. Slack is superior. Discord is down again. I don't know who Discord is. Without Remorse 12, Jordan does have back problems. That's probably why he asks for help cleaning his apartment. Come on, Robert Bouquet Ray. Are you serious? I mean, Without Remorse. I think you're joking. Robert Bouquet Ray. Deb is a credit hog. What? I didn't see the part of that. Don't die on the flag for Jordan. I'm not dying on the flag for Jordan. I'm just putting out the details. Debbie Fleetwood was actually agreeing with Robert Ramirez's comment. Agreed, Rob. Corlese. I'm pronouncing your name wrong, I'm sorry. Have Michael Savage, Rush, or Glenn Beck claim that all these accusations are Soros-funded liberal attack on heterosexuality and white reproduction. If they haven't yet, they will soon. That's funny. That's awesome. Winkle Berniger. Well, it's not TYT investigation. It's a third party hired through TYT. Fair enough. I wouldn't trust TYT if they said the sky was blue. Bob Ramirez. That's funny. Like Winkle Berniger said, it's a third party. Dimebag TV. Jordan was using his position at Truth Against the Machine to solicit success. That's what I get from it. Yeah, that's the possible problem with that. That's the possible problem. Like, it's not rape. But yeah, that is a problem. That's what it sounds like. Well, at the very least, I could believe that. I could believe that. But again, investigation. Wait for the information to come out. Looks like Jordan can be a vulgar ads in the workplace, but it doesn't seem like that was rape. Agreed. However, yes, wait for the TYT independent investigation to shed full light on it. Agreed. 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 Absolutely agree. Don't down the flag for Jordan. Yeah, Jay, I'm not dying on the flag for Jordan. Giving information is not the same thing as dying on the flag for somebody. It's like, should you never back up? Or not even back up. Should you never recount a story? And just because the information cuts a particular way, should you avoid relaying the information because it cuts a particular way? You relay the story. This is the story that we have at this point. This is information. I'm trying to add context in regards to how your society views this stuff versus to some degree the reality of it. Your society pushes people in one way and then tries to pull them in the other. Yeah, I do think there are problems with the story, though. I think there's severe problems in both counts. Meaning, even under the premise that Jordan didn't do it. Let's say all the information that came out bolstering this claim was right. Let's say somebody was angry, somebody wanted to strike back at Jordan, somebody wanted to take him down, etc., etc., etc. Let's say all that's true. But this stuff didn't come out of a void. I mean, come on, it didn't come out of a void. Meaning there had been something underlying this particular story. And I would wager that he probably was a horn dog. He probably was a horn dog. That doesn't shock me at all. And if you're a horn dog and you just so happen to own that particular company, or your people are dependent upon you, would those people have an implicit pressure to not say anything about you being a horn dog and to just suck it up, even if they're grossly uncomfortable with your behavior? The answer, of course, is yes. The answer is yes. Does that mean that that is somewhat of a problem? That answer is also yes. The answer is also yes. Is that the same as rape? Fuck no. Fuck no. No, it's not. Bernie and us. Jamal, do you judge Jordan for his being a kink, as you say? What's your take on that? Do I judge him for being... Do I judge Jordan for this being his kink, as you say? What did you say about that, Bernie and you, us? I read your comment earlier, Bernie and us. I read your comment on the page. A kink implies there's something different. I don't know what's different about this. A bunch of people were having sex and Jordan wanted to join in. That's pretty much nearly every guy. I mean, there may be some guys who are terrified of it. That doesn't necessarily mean they're not attracted by it. If the situation presented itself, would most guys join in? If they didn't have any kind of inferiority complex, or if they didn't have anything going on in their heads that said this is wrong or something like that, some kind of weird religious dogma, I think most guys would join in. So I don't necessarily consider it a kink if it's most of society. I judge Jordan in this case because I would imagine if it was me and I was in a workplace that I felt that the person was being overly sexually explicit, I would have problems working in that workplace. That's my issue with this. It has nothing to do with his kink or has nothing to do with his sexual proclivities. This has everything to do with people are dependent upon you for a job. People are working at this thing of Truth Against the Machine. and you were being pretty explicit while you were working at Truth Against the Machine and being, to some degree, their boss. That's dicey. That gets immensely dicey. So yeah, I think that's immensely dicey. But I don't necessarily think this is a kink. That's all. This was mixed with workplace. Don't shit. Yeah, agreed. Brahm SL1, really haven't paid much attention to the story, but it does sound like Jordan has some issues with keeping work and personal life separate. Agreed. Absolutely agree. Jordan Boyd disappointed himself being a horny little prick. Jin Ho Choi, agreed. Yeah, agreed. Employee benefits, orgies. Jay Scott, can you? That's funny. It was like, let's do the story in Flint. Let's go back and have an orgy. Yes. TYT politics. No, that's awesome. I've seen them wasted on camera. And because I've seen them wasted on camera, my thought was, are they hooking up? That's often what I think. Are they hooking up? You're at location. And when you're at that location, you're going out, you're having drinks, you're having fun. It's like, yeah, you're dicking about. And you're a little inebriated. And as you're a little inebriated, you go back to the hotel. And it's like, hey, look, don't worry about going home. We're all a little wasted. We'll just stay here for the night. Hey, they have a jacuzzi. Let's get into the jacuzzi. You're drinking. You're still inebriated. One person takes their shirt off. Somebody else takes their pants off. Somebody else. You're getting naked. You're inebriated. You get a bit randy based on the conversation. So let's say the conversation takes this turn where you're having a conversation about sex. And I'm saying this because I think human beings in general act this way. I don't think this is so beyond the pale. I think sometimes a guy would flirt. I think sometimes women would flirt. I think you're in this situation where you guys are in a room, all of you are drunk, all of you are in a hot tub, and the conversation goes in a particular way. That's somewhat illicit. You already have a hornball. The guy's already a horn dog. Are you telling me that this is not necessarily the setting for stuff to kind of go in a particular direction? And just, again, being human beings, you're sitting there talking shit to one another. And you're inebriated. And the conversation is went in a way where you've become randy in this conversation. And say for the moment it's not just you. Say for the moment it's a bunch of people that become randy. Take out Jordan for the moment. Take out TYT. Just, you have a group of people who are relatively attractive and for the most part entirely wasted. Are you telling me that this is not the situation or not the platform for something to go down where you're talking about a bunch of people getting together and having some fun? I just think it is. Now, let's say one of those people tend to be married or is married. Ooh, now you have a problem. Now you could say, you know, he was willing to hook up with a married woman. Fair enough. But come on. They go to location all the time. It's a bunch of people, yes. And again, this is one of those things of this kind of, like the woman said, shitting where you work, to use the euphemism. It seems like they have a work environment that's extraordinarily informal. And because the environment is informal, it may be something that they themselves created. He tends to be loose and he tends to be himself. The problem is you're at work. Those people who are around you are not around you because they think you're an awesome fucking guy. You may be an awesome fucking guy. I have no idea. But they're not around you because of that. They're not around you because I have a radiant personality. None of that's true. They're around you because they want a job. They're in this for this idea of a career. They're not there to hear you be a horn dog. They're just not. That being said, that's not rape. That's not rape. The case that the Huffington Post article made was that he raped somebody. That is a big fucking difference. That's a big fucking difference. Beauty has Stockholm Syndrome. It looks like they started to have sex, stopped, and one side says they weren't having sex, and the other side says it's blowing it out of proportion. Still, jury's out until we get more facts. Dimenji, agreed. Agreed. Absolutely agree. It's you don't shit where you eat. Okay, thank you, Jay. I shit at work all the time. That's good for you, Jay. I am glad you have an awesome colon. Let's see. Captain Obvious. Of course they're hooking up. Drunk people almost always hook up. That's why God created alcohol. Agreed, Captain Obvious. Agreed. Independent outsider. There is a thing to be said for creating discomfort at the workplace. Agreed, independent outsider. Absolutely agreed. Mother Teresa accuses Gandhi of sexual assault. Somebody last night says Cenk Uygur touched them inappropriately. Yeah. That shouldn't be funny, but it is. LB, this is just in. Bugs Bunny accuses Elmer Fudd of sexual assault. I've seen that. I've seen that. Have you seen that episode where Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny are almost going at it? Oh, it's wildly inappropriate. It's wildly inappropriate. Jenland, nope, don't agree. What don't you agree with, Jenland? What's the new info? What don't you agree with? Then you know what you don't agree with. Dave McCall, he made her blow it out of proportion. How did he make her blow it out of proportion? Independent outsider, leave Elmer Fudd alone. Leave Elmer Fudd alone. I don't think Jordan wants this attention. Oh, hell, no guy wants to be accused of sexual assault. But I think it's sort of selfish for him not to come out on this and not to settle it, to be honest. It gets the way other cases and accusations. Benji, he did write a post on Medium. I covered this one yesterday where he kind of said, look, this is, you know, he's like, this is embarrassing that this is coming out. So no, he doesn't necessarily want this attention. They took him off the air while they had an investigation. That's the first point. But he has wrote this piece saying, I didn't do this. This is being, you know, I didn't have anything. No, this didn't happen. I didn't rape anybody. To his credit, he did. He did. And he posted on his Facebook page the conversation that they were having, or he was having with the person who was accusing him. And the person essentially said, I was angry. I never said it was rape, etc., etc., etc. I don't agree that Jay poops at work. Oh. Well, I mean, we don't know. You can't impinge his testimony for the most part. You have to dance on the head of a pin. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. You have to wait for the evidence. You have to wait for the evidence. It seems like a thing that is going to be drug out. Maybe, yeah. Maybe. I err on Jordan's side on this only because of the information that's being put out. It's just one thing after the next comes up saying, I lied, I was angry. Then a hit piece comes out that just tears at him, like brutally tears at him. One of the funniest things in that hit piece, though, was him saying Jank jacks off all the time, which is fucking hilarious. And saying Nomika Kantz was writing speeches for Democrats and covering those exact same Democrats as a reporter and saying this was immensely unethical. Now, mind you, I can hear Jordan saying that, oh my God, this is immensely unethical. I can hear him saying that. And yes, I can also see this case of, yes, if she's writing speeches for him. But I've made this argument before that it's somewhat unethical for TYT to run politicians and turn around and cover those exact same politicians reporting. It just seems immensely unethical. It seems like a conflict of interest. So yes. You're going to get swabbed later, babe. Like, Bernie, bro, I don't know what that means. You're going to get swabbed later. That would be this just saying Queen Elizabeth accuses Prince Charles of sexual assault. Yeah, there have been a lot of accusations. Without remorse, Carla Hammond is going to be giving an interview on Tim Black tonight. No way. I'm going to check that out. I'm going to check that out. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting. The problem is Tim Black and HA don't like Jordan Chariton. So it's like they have this little YouTube feud going on. And so anything that could put a spike in them or a knife in them, they're going to find anything that could put a knife or a spike in them. So yeah, I don't know the credibility you want to give to something like that. But hear her out. Definitely hear her out. This case is somewhat ambiguous. This case is up in the air. Now, does Carly Hammond at this point have a vested interest in maintaining the story? True or not? The answer is yes. She has a vested interest in maintaining the story. It looks bad to say, okay, I lied. Okay, I lied. I lied. I was married. I didn't want this to come up. I lied. So take all this stuff with a grain of salt. There's an investigation. Let the investigation play through. Dance on the head of a pin. I am going to listen to her, though. I do want to hear what she has to say. I'm curious. I'm totally curious. My wife, I told her about the story, and she was like, She says, I don't care, man. She says, I don't care. And was that just, I don't care. She was completely disinterested in this idea of, there's some things in her left that come up that she completely just doesn't care about. She completely doesn't care about. So, this is one of those things. I personally, though, I'm curious about it. I'm personally curious about it. Captain Obvious. Yeah, Chink is always jerking off to himself. Part of the article was the best part. Yeah, you could totally see that happening. That's, yeah, it's fucking funny. Winkle the Burning Bro. I used to watch Saturday Night Nickelodeon. This is Nick. Tim and Jordan made up. Oh, they did. Well, yeah, for the most part. Yeah. He, when we were at Convergence, this is so fucking weird. We were at Convergence. Hey, Tim Black is on one of the panels. See, it's like him, Jimmy Dore, I think it was Lee Camp, and it was somebody else. And he goes into this conversation of feuds. And this isn't behind the scenes. He said this in the open at the Convergence. And he was like, yeah, it's good sometimes for ratings to have a go at people. And I was in the back and he was like, I had an issue with the gentleman in the back. And at that point, everybody in the audience looked back and was like, oh, fuck. It's like, don't do this. That's all I kept. I was like, don't do this. Don't do this. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to apologize to him right after. This is like, oh, don't do this. You don't have to. You don't have to. Yeah, they made it up. I don't know. Maybe. Probably. That doesn't necessarily mean that if an opportunity comes up, he's not going to put a knife in him. So, that's all I'm saying. I am interested in hearing what Hammond has to say, though. I'm curious about this. Like, with all the information that's been coming out, I do want to hear his side of it. Because the information has been coming out on one very particular way. Also, the reason why I say reserve judgment. Is it possible that many of these people feel like they're being pressured to take a position? That could be yes. That could be yes. If it's a situation where they feel like, I need to take this tack because A, I want influence in this industry and fucking over Jordan and TYT is not the way to do it, that's also possible. That's also possible. That's what I'm saying. Be balanced and be just kind of above it all in the way you're dealing with it. I don't know the other workable point of view that you can use for it that won't let you one side or the other being biased. So yeah. Winkle, obviously Jake's influenced the decisions. Yeah, probably. Donna Brazil is going to use this. Donna Brazil is going to use what? Not surprisingly, I guess Facebook and Twitter and YouTube are censoring people nowadays. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. The shadow banning stuff. It's not even just shadow banning at this point, it's outright. Why else will Facebook protect Jordan? How's Facebook protecting Jordan? Bob Moran said, Donna should shit herself laughing at the news. Yeah, that would be funny. Actually, Donna has been spending so much time backtracking. I don't know if she's laughing at anything. It sounds like somebody called her and said, you need to clean this shit up. You need to clean it up. Mind you, there is no way to clean up that book. There's no way to clean up that book. I really want to see, yeah, I can't wait for Donna Brazil to go on Tim Black's show if she shows up. Winkle the Burning Bro, that would be fascinating. That would be fascinating. I would love to bring Donna Brazil on my show. There is no way she'd do my show. She doesn't even know I exist. If I had Tim Black's audience, like if I had like 100,000 people, I would have all sorts of people on that show. But the question becomes, or the catch becomes, how do you have an interview that's honest and yet not go after the person where the person will want to come back at some other point? Like, how do you maintain this thing of access? I don't know how you do it. Like, if you're gonna go after somebody, that's gonna be the last interview you have with that particular person, unless you have just such numbers where they need your particular audience, meaning you can have that level of leeway to go after them. Otherwise, the best that you would get out of them is this kind of tepid, this kind of tepid pushing. This tepid push. This mentally tepid push. So we'll see. But I do want to see it. That would be interesting. That would be interesting to see what Donna Brazil has to say. Every other time that she's been at, she's backtracked, moonwalk, pop and lock. She's done each and everything that she could to get out the fact that she said the contest was rigged. When I said rigged, I didn't mean rigged. I meant the cancer. The cancer. The cancer. This is fucking awesome. Donna Brazil accuses Tim Black of hostile stares. I love that. Hostile stares. You're staring at me inappropriately, sir. You're staring at me in an inappropriate way. Jidderland Jamal, people are unable to share stories and info about Jordan accusations on Facebook with censoring and blocking it. No way. Are you serious? Are you serious? Look, if there are other people who have stories about Jordan, they should come out. Honestly, they should come out. But those stories need to go beyond, he's a horn dog. He's a pervert. He's a pervert and a horn dog. It's not enough. But yeah, if they have stories to share, they share them. Hell, come on my show. I would give you a platform. Would Donna do the show sitting on Jamal's lap too? Bob Ramirez. Yeah. My wife would have issues with that. If I wasn't married, and if that was the only way Donna Brazile will come on the show, yes, Donna Brazile can sexually harass me if she wants an interview. That's perfectly fine. I'll do that. Question: will Tim challenge her on the Russian Gate bullshit? Patrick Flood. That is the question. That's the question, right? Is he going to challenge her? Is he going to challenge her? I haven't seen anybody really push Donna Brazile on this. Oddly enough, Jordan did. Like, if you remember, Jordan walked up to her with the mic and was like, WikiLeaks said you were passing information to CNN, and Donna Brazile lied about it and was like, you're being aggressive, sir. You're being aggressive towards me. Yeah, he's accusing you of lying because you were lying. Because you were lying. That's why he was accusing you of lying. So yeah, he was being slightly aggressive. Fair enough. Tim will ask about Seth Rich, I hope. I do too. Ask questions like Larry King, and that's bad. Why? Well, the passing of the information, I think that's the issue. And again, I'm not saying no, that's bad. We're asking, or we're curious about whether or not he's going to push her on some of this stuff. That's all. I'm curious. Don't ever say tepid again, motherfucker. Luca Clemente. Come at me, bro. Come at me, bro. Bob Ramirez said, well, as Chink said on TYT, has partnered with Silicon Valley. Oh, as Chink said, TYT has partnered with Silicon Valley. Bob Ramirez. Yeah, that's a problem. For a media company to align with anybody, what does that mean about your reporting? And what does that mean for Silicon Valley? Silicon Valley clearly has a dog in the hunt. Twitter, Facebook. Yeah, they have a dog in the hunt. I'm still, when I'm 20s, just 1 year left. Oh, good days. Okay, in their early 30s, Jenna Lynn. Exactly, Bob. Horn dog. Still a horn dog in his 20s. Yes, he can still be a horn dog. He can still be a horn dog. Independent outsider. We all need to condemn sexual harassment. Agreed. And assault from all political sides. Agreed. Democrats and Republicans need to stop pointing fingers at the other team. Agreed. Agreed. Why else would Facebook protect Jordan? Fair enough. This just in. Terminator accuses RoboCop of sexual harassment. Terminator says RoboCop grabbed his ass inappropriately. Fucking Terminator. I gotta be honest, man. I think that a lot of the stuff has made me think back over how I interact with women. There's nothing in my past, anything like this kind of just overt, vulgar, I'm going at this particular person and I have this kind of stature or something like that. I can think of times where you're equals. And what I mean by equals, I mean it's not like you're their boss or something like that. And you're making a play at somebody. You're making a pass at somebody. I remember times where alcohol was involved and you're making a pass at somebody. I remember times with situations just like what they're talking about, where it's a group of you pair off. This is what I mean, man. Alcohol. It's like this thing of adults being adults and adults having fun. I remember we were playing spades one day. It was me, one of my best friend, and it was two other females. We were playing spades. And as we were playing spades, all of us were drinking. There was tequila going back and forth. All of us taking shots. I am immensely attracted to the woman who's sitting across from me, and my friend is immensely attracted to the woman sitting across from him. And you're drinking and you're playing spades. And the conversation tilts. That's all it takes. It tilts. It goes in a direction. And everybody that's sitting at that table playing spades and drinking are Randy. Is that the situation that they presented with? Now, the difference here is everybody paired off. And once everybody paired off, there was some rantiness about, and there was some dirty dealings about that they were afoot. At the end of this, there were, after, let's say days later, nobody was mad at the other person. Everybody, for the most part, accepted what it was. Everybody understood we were drunk, we tracked it, and we went with what was taking place. The people met later on. We've played spades afterwards. There was weirdness just by being adults in some of the interactions as the people clarified their feelings. But it wasn't sexual harassment by any stretch of the imagination. Making a pass is not, in effect, sexual harassment. What is sexual harassment is if you have a job and you hire somebody for that job and you make it seem like whether or not you can have sex or whether or not you hook up or whether or not that person is open to some kind of relationship, that your job depends on that particular relationship, or that person talks about sex all the time in a way where you're completely uncomfortable by it. Yeah, those things, yeah, that becomes a problem. That becomes a problem. Totally, I agree. I agree. Luca Clemente, yes, Peter Douche is fantastic. Peter Douche is fucking awesome. Peter Douche is fucking awesome. When could the burning bill? Well, a prank call could be assault. That's the real distinction Democrats fail to understand. A prank can still be an assault. Yeah, a prank can be an assault, particularly when that person hated your guts earlier. You try to stick your tongue down that person's throat. Yes. Yes. I mean, it's like, it's not one thing where you, if you take everything out of the Al Franken case, because I know you're talking about Al Franken, and the only thing you had was that picture of Al Franken looking back at the camera with this kind of weird laugh, completely pleased with himself as he grabs a woman's breast. I maybe could give you the benefit of the doubt that Al Franken is being a goofball. He's being an inappropriate goofball, but he's being a goofball. The moment that you have more context, that he was mad at the woman because she wasn't receptive, that he tried to force his tongue down her throat, all this stuff, would you add that stuff into it? Yeah, that picture becomes something else. That picture becomes something else. I agree. Totally agree. Independent outsider. Nico House stayed 100% of men have sexually abused a woman. Nico outed himself in that comment. Yeah, speak for yourself on that one. You speak for yourself, Nico House. 100% of men. Fuck that. You speak for yourself. If people are going to continue to accuse others of sexual harassment, there need to be some sort of reconciliation committee of sorts rather than what's happening now. Look, if you're going to accuse men of that, and you're going to have this thing where a large percentage of men committed sexual assault in some way, then the problem is with your society, not necessarily with men. You have a systemic issue at that point. That's all I'm saying. Like, however you're investing in your society with regards to the way you're raising your men, that would be a problem. I suspect it's not men, per se. I suspect it's positions of authority. That's what I suspect. I suspect this is somewhat systemic. That's what I think. Men just get it because men are... You have a society where men are in most of those positions. And your society tells men to think a particular way. Do you believe that the way people think and the way people act is purely a result of just those people? It is not. It is not. C. Rose, I haven't seen that. Who said they falsely accused Jordan to help him? Yeah, I don't know how to help him. Winkle the Burn, I would imagine Jordan hates the story, and any guy would hate to be tarred as being a sexual harasser or abuser, in particular a rapist. Have you ever teamed up with Captain Hindsight, or is that like your rival, Winkle the Burning Bro? Dave, true. I love how often people out themselves. Captain Obvious, Captain Hindsight is my mortal enemy. He gets there after me to claim my credit. God damn it. Seems like Captain Obvious has issues with Captain Hindsight. Fair enough. Fair enough. A committee. No, I just think that people need to realize that if you raise a society of men in a particular way, those men are going to act the way you raise them in that society. So yeah, if you have this large section of the population that has done something like this, where they've used their position to advantage themselves, maybe that's not... I'll always say, I'd say it this way. If you have like 60 or 70% of your population is overweight, there's something wrong with your population. There's something wrong with what's taking place in your population, push those people to be overweight. they're not just individual entities. They're acting as a group behavior. You have something that's affecting the masses of people. Those people try to function with this stuff as if they're individuals. So each incident that happened, they take it as this is an individual acting in a particular way. If you have like 70% taking a macro look at this, it's not the individual acting a particular way. There's something pushing the person to act a particular way. Free will is a myth. Free will is a myth. So, I mean, granted, that's from a contextual standpoint, meaning that's from a looking out and kind of zooming in. But in the individual instance and in the moment, yeah, that's a problem, man. You can't do that. Even if what they're accusing Jordan of is wrong, the part of it that I think is probably right is he probably is a horn dog. And unfortunately, it sounds like he intersperses career with his own having fun, his own getting it on. So that is a problem. That is a problem. You can make a case that that is sexual harassment. That is not rape. That is far from rape. That is far, far from rape. While it's important to address individual cases, I find there's a lack of dialogue about the underlying culture that encourages the behavior. Yes, Dale Chomsky. That's what I'm trying to get at. That's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. And probably in an overly intellectual way, that's what I'm trying to get at. Systemic. It's been more disturbing listening to people talk about this subject than the stories themselves. Explain, Gentleman. Explain. It is an awkward subject to talk about. It is an awkward subject to talk about. I'm going to create the ID General Burnout to solve Captain Obvious and Captain Hindsight's dilemma. Catherine Horace. That would be nice of you. That would be nice of you. We can create this middle ground for Captain Obvious and Captain Hindsight so they can come together and shake hands. We have a better fucking world. Solve one of the problems at least. So, alright. So I'm going to end this. My wife and I are going to see, what's that thing called? We're going to see Justice League. I have my doubts about this film. I got to be honest. DC is not good at making movies. At least I don't think they are. So my fingers are crossed that this is going to be good. I've heard some of the comic book people talk about it, and they did not talk about it in a good way. They did not talk about it in a good way. So they tried to give the best case that they could give, and yet a lot of the case that they made was stuff that was wrong and bad in the movie. So we'll see. They said Superman was fucking awesome. Superman is one of my favorite characters. So that should be good. And at the end of the day, the movie is still probably entertaining. So I want to see it. Luca Clemente. If one kid is fat, it's his problem. If half the class is fat, it's a societal problem. Yes, that's the point I'm trying to make. Systemic. You guys are explaining it better than I think I did. Winkle the Burning Blow. Shameless plug. Just dropped a song video called Screwed by the DNC based on You've Got a Friend and Me from Tony's Story. Click my pic to check it out. That's Winkle the Burning Blow. He's just dropped a song parody called Screwed by the DNC. I checked that out, Winkle. Exactly. Have a great night, Jamal and y'all. Yes. Have fun, Jamal. Yes. Jin Ho Choi. Yes. Winkle. Yeah. Check out Winkle's song Screwed by the DNC. Winkle, I will check that out myself. You're gonna get banned on Twitter the moment that you release that song. The moment you release that song. So yeah. Alright, so I'm going to end this. The Jordan thing is somewhat interesting. I think the larger conversation is this conversation that need to be had about society itself. When I make the case that men will always be men, I don't mean that in a men are pervy and are willing to jump women. I don't mean that in the least. And even when I say that, I take a grain of salt because, again, I think society pushes people to behave a particular way. Some of this stuff is cultural. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's right. It just means some of this stuff is cultural. And mind you, when I say cultural, I don't just mean men. I just mean the positions of authority that we allow people to get in with this idea of status. Now, 3 main thoughts. The story of the rape allegations, there are a lot of information coming out saying that this particular case, Jordan might not have been guilty. That's the first point. There was a lot of evidence. Or there was evidence that came out. I'm not going to say a lot. Second point to make is, just because somebody comes up with an allegation doesn't necessarily mean the allegation is correct. It also doesn't mean the allegation is wrong. And ultimately, you're stuck in this situation of, I don't know. But that's the second point. The third point is, much or a lot of what's being thrown at Jordan has to do with, this guy's a horn dog, this guy's a pervert, this guy talks about sex all the time, this guy is immensely uncomfortable in the conversations he has about sex, and he's somewhat of a douche in using his position to try to elicit sex. That's the part of the story that sounds true to me, if I'm being honest. That's the part that sounds true. If that is true, that is still problematic. That is still problematic. So even if you say, okay, the rape thing didn't take place, fair enough. You can say evidence that's put out is kind of going after the rape allegation. Fair enough. The woman who was added into the Huffington Post story comes out and says the story is bogus. Fair enough. But him being a horn dog, and him working at this particular place, him bringing people on, and him behaving as a horn dog in his job capacity, blurring this line between work and home. If he was a horn dog in his personal life, have at it. The people who don't want to be around you won't be around you. In your workspace, that's different. I'm sorry, that's different. You have a bunch of people who are trying to employ themselves and have access to the things they need in their society. And they believe that this idea of you being a journalist, that they can get some level of employment with you that's able to sustain their life. They're not doing it because they love you. They're not doing it because you're awesome. They're doing it because they need a job. That's a different space to be in if I have to listen to somebody being a complete horn dog. And like I said, I use the example of, you know, the 80-year-old woman that has a wooden leg and is missing most of her teeth and has an eye patch. And she's hitting on you shamelessly, and she's talking about the guy she used to have sex with, and that she's going to deep throat some guy later on and make sexual jokes about you and looks at you a particular way when you walk by. And yeah, I think you would feel some kind of way about it. Unless you had a thing for older women with peg legs and missing an eye and everything else, you're probably not going to be all that comfortable with her coming on to you in this way. Particularly using the fact that you have a job under her as being either this implicit or explicit pressure on you to behave and conform and to be okay with the things that she's saying. It's uncomfortable, that's all. Mixing work and this kind of horn doggery is problematic. That's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. So, I'm going to end this. Winkle the Burnbro, nice reference to MD. He's not made that a secret, Jamal. Oh, talking about him being a horn dog. Employment relations must be formal. Agreed. Agreed. Agreed, agreed, agreed. Tim Black once said that while they were going through their beef with Jordan loves them. What? Anthony Allen. Tim Black once said, while they're going through their beef, that Jordan loves the woman. Well, you might, like I say, you might be a horn dog. I don't care what they do in their personal life. I don't care at all. If a story came out that says Jordan had orgies every weekend and he liked to grease himself up with Crisco and running through the streets naked while women tag along and touch themselves inappropriately, I could care less. I could care less. I don't care what his kinks are. Like, I don't care what he himself decides to do in his personal life to get his jollies off. I don't care. It only becomes an issue of we're working together and you're using that relationship, that formal relationship of work, to get sex. Or you're making people who are working with you immensely uncomfortable. Yeah, at that point, that becomes dicey. That becomes dicey. So, I will leave it at that. Jenny Land, everyone around Jordan has confirmed that. Yeah, like I said, Jenny, I can believe it. That part I can believe. Jamal just revealed his own fantasy. That's not my fantasy. That is not greasing myself up with Crisco. It's not my fantasy. Jordan being horny, I can believe. Yeah, me too. Me too. Keep Jordan away from Louis C. Clark and potted plants. Oh, I don't think he's that bad. I haven't heard anybody say anything like that. Like, that's what I mean. Him being a horn dog is a little bit different than him being like Harvey Weinstein. That's just different. Sorry, it's different. Yeah, I think it's different. Jordan is made pleased to get laid right on TYT political vigs. You could tell even Emma was uncomfortable around him. Ocean dude. Oh, we don't know that. We don't know that. This is Captain Hindsight. We don't know that. I would say, though, when the story came out, my first thought was, oh, don't let it be Emma. Don't let it be Emma. Please don't let it be Emma. Please don't let it be Emma. Yeah, please don't let it be Emma. Now, to be fair, that's my own bias in this case. Because it's like Emma versus somebody else. Why is it okay for somebody else to be sexually harassed but not Emma? That's not what I'm saying. Emma stands by him, though. Yeah, she did. She did. People have different tolerances. That's all I'm saying. That's all. I don't care. Look, if I'm with a female and we're friends and she's talking about sex all the time, I could care one iota. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Talk about the things that you yourself want to talk about. If I'm with a guy and you're the same, I don't care. Do I have enough to communicate with them? Do I have enough to communicate with that particular female? Do we have other things in common that we interact with? That's what matters. It just becomes when it's a work thing. That's when it becomes a little issue. It's iffy. You see that bastard Captain Hindsight? It's a dirty, dirty dog. Jenny Lynn, he always pouted that Emma had a boyfriend. He didn't pout that Emma had a boyfriend. Was he trying to mac Emma? Maybe. I wouldn't be shocked by that at all. She's adorable. Ocean Dude, I saw an interview at Standing Rock and Rent he did with some girl, and it made me feel uncomfortable watching. It was streamed live, and I never saw it in their videos. Oh, Tint. Yeah, he's probably a horn dog. I'm not shocked by that. You can be a horn dog and care about other things. Like, it can be, you know, sex runs on XYZ person's mind constantly in every situation a person is looking to try to get his rocks off. But I also care about the environment. But I also care that they're doing this Native Americans at Standing Rock. But I also care that there's lead in the water and Flint. Yeah, you can do that. You can be both of those things at the same time. Doesn't make it right. I'm just saying you can be both. Benji, was it there outside? Captain Obvious, independent outside there. I remember that, Jenny. I don't know if he pouted because she didn't have a boyfriend. All this stuff is hindsight. It's like, oh, he's been accused of sexual harassment. Oh, all these allegations come out about him being this kind of perv and a horn dog. And then becomes, I knew it. I knew he was a perv and a horn dog. I saw when he was in that video with Emma, and he looked at Emma a particular way, and I thought right there in that very moment that he was a pervert. I knew it. I knew it. All of this information just confirms what I already knew. It's like, come on. Come on. Come on. Be fair. Be fair. Some people just shouldn't be in position to have female employees working under them. How are you going to make a designation that female employees shouldn't work under? Come on. Come on. Come on. So much self-disclosure today, Jamal. This is not self-disclosure. Jamal, the point is that we've known he was pervy way before this. Yes, fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. I don't back away from that point at all. Because, yes, he's probably a pervert. Agreed. I'm just saying a lot of information has come out where when you're looking at it, you're like, oh, this guy seems to have a hard on for women big time in inappropriate locations. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. It's plausible to suppress attraction to others in a workspace or anywhere else. Yes, it is. It's possible. Yes, it is. I think so. I think so totally. I mean, are you telling me, like, you think of all the women that you work with. Are you telling me that you're going after those women in every scenario? Think about the men that you work with. Are you going after those men in every scenario? So when you have a gay person working with you, is that gay person trying to jump every guy? If you have a woman working with you, is that woman trying to jump every guy that she's attracted to? Are you assuming that every woman and every guy in every workplace is completely unattracted to every woman and every guy in every other workplace? Of course you can suppress that. Of course, you have to. Just being a person. Self-control, yes, there is self-control in this. For some reason, when I first started watching TYT Politics, I thought Emma and Jordan were living together. I thought they might have been messing around with one another. Or not messing around. I thought... But I always think this. Like, what's going on behind the scenes? Like, what's the conversations that they have behind the scenes? And is Jordan trying to mac after the fact? Maybe. I assume that those things are possible. I'm not shocked by that. I'm not shocked by that at all. I'm just ribbing you, Jamal. I know. I actually agree with your main points. I know. I say attraction, not behavior. Oh, I see what you mean. You're making a distinction. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. You're making a distinction. You're saying, no, I can't necessarily control being attracted to this person, but yes, I can control not behaving as a douche. Agreed. Like, I assume that my wife has a hard on for Hugh Jackman. Loves Wolverine. She loves him. I think Wolverine is on her list. Meaning, if Hugh Jackman was in a particular location, if Hugh Jackman was game, I am assuming that my wife is cheating on me that night with Hugh Jackman. Now, this is going with this idea of attraction. Yes, I assume that everybody's going to be attracted to somebody, whether you're married or not. I think that's just being a human being. I think it's just being a human being. This woman is attractive. This guy is attractive. It is a different question, however. It's a different question. And whether or not just because this guy is attractive, you're going to go down on that guy, or just because this woman is attractive, you're going to try to hook up with that woman. Those are different. I agree. Oh, shit, you're in trouble. And then, yeah, I know. I agree. I know. You're in trouble. Yeah, I know. Captain Obvious. Well, Jordan and Emma might not have hooked up, but you can bet the farm that Jordan damn sure tried, or at least wanted to. Agreed. Hugh Jackman is gay. You're safe. He's not gay. Cheeky rogue. The man has a wife. He has a wife. Independent outsider. The top 10 celebrity lists. My wife and I have that list. Agreed. Independent outsider. Yeah. Agreed. That list exists. Totally agree. All right. I'm going to end this because this is going long, as it always does. Yeah, those are my main points. And I said my main points in the beginning. I hope I tried to add context without seeming too much like a guy. I don't like these terms, toxic masculinity and all this other stuff. This is the context that people try to have these conversations. You're a human being. Your society tells you that being a guy means a particular thing, meaning whatever you think of being a guy is, your society has given you that definition for it. Yeah, there's certain things that your society pushes you to do, whether that's systemic issues of having one person having authority over another person. People try to advantage themselves. It does not make it right. And if you're going to be in a workplace, yeah, you need to have formal relations with the people in that workplace. This gets immensely sketchy. It looks immensely sketchy. I don't believe he raped anybody. That's my belief. I don't know if that belief is completely true, but I got to be honest. The way the information comes out, I don't necessarily believe it. That being said, sexually inappropriate? Oh, fuck yes. Fuck yes, I do believe that. I mean, if half of the stories that are coming out are true in the sense of how he behaves with regards to women, yes, it looks immensely sketchy. That is a far cry from rape, by the way. Just so we're clear, that's an immensely far cry from rape. So, you know, this is one of those. It's like, what's the middle ground in regards to what's coming out? And is it possible that the middle ground is more likely to be true? On one side, you have, oh my God, he raped me. On the other side, I am blameless. I asked for consent before I joined an orgy. Sounds like the middle is true. Yes, he was somewhat pervy. No, he didn't necessarily commit rape. Be ambiguous. I may lean on a particular side based on information, but ultimately, I think I'm trying to be ambiguous. My workable point of view is I don't know until the information comes out. But yes, I lean. So I will leave it at that. He looks like a frat boy. A perv and an egomaniac. Genuinely, yes, I can believe that. And this is kind of why I think the horn dog thing probably is true. I can totally see Jordan making this case of, hey, I know a lot of people in the industry. Hey, I can hook you up. Hey, I can do X, Y, Z, and use it in position. Yeah, I can see that. That doesn't shock me. That doesn't, oh my God, I can't believe that this took place. No, that doesn't blow me away. The rape allegation, yeah, that blew me away. That's a whole nother animal. Yeah, I believe guys can be egomaniacs. Absolutely. I believe guys who are egomaniacs can use their position to try to advantage themselves. Yes, I believe that. I can totally believe that having some kind of informal job space where he's just being himself and he's being a little bit over the top in regards to the conversation that he's having, I can totally believe that. if you're going to say rape, you need to have a little bit more bang to the buck. That's all. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I won't go too far. All right, guys. Shank probably sends Jordan out in the field to protect his in-house women. Oh, that's brutal. That's brutal. This is the problem with these allegations, man. Once they're out, oh, it just tars you. It just tars you. They accuse the guy of rape. Like, you're going to have some people who dislike Jordan who just outright believe it. It just completely tars you. It's like sludge. It's fucking, yeah. But, like I said, I don't think this came out of a void. So, there's that. Alright, guys. If you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support through Patreon. I will let you know how Justice League comes out. Hopefully there's something interesting to use there for a show. I'll leave it at that. Alright, guys. You all have a good night.